Hello and welcome. My name is Justice, and today we bring you some Gran Turismo 7, the Manufacturers' Cup, Season 1, Round 1, at the Nürburgring 24-hour layout. As you can tell, I've signed up with Dodge to drive the Dodge Viper GT3 and GT4 cars, and in this race we qualified third, and which means it puts us ahead of the chaos that happens behind us if you take a look at the course map there. Um, so it's always good to qualify good, get you ahead of the crap that can go on in the first turn. We're following DNF and Too Quick for You, Mazda and Nissan driver respectively, and we're gonna try to keep up with these guys. They're pretty fast. We're all. This is a B rank lobby, but we're all sportsmanship. So I think it seems like most of us were clean drivers. I was worried in qualifying. I got outright dumped by somebody, like legit pit maneuver. So I'm not gonna name who it was, and well, you can't even see them on the leaderboard there. They're so far back, and that's where they stay for most of the race. Imagine that. Um, but as you can see, we're not even out of the GP circuit yet, and we've already overtaken DNF. And forgive me, my German is bad, and I don't know all the names of the corners at this track, so I'm not really even going to try. But I'll do my best here to describe what's going on. Too Quick for You kind of checked up pretty hard there. I almost ran into the back of him, but kept it off of him. Whenever you're about to come up and hit a driver or you are late on the brakes, which I think I was a little late on the brakes, it's always good to go on the outside of them instead of dive bombing them. You'll see another instance of that a little bit later. But this was a good race. I was pretty pleased with myself. It was a good first attempt. The Viper, I feel like, is a very overlooked car. And I got a little bit of a four-wheel skid going there. That didn't happen before the update leading up to this event. And a lot of people are saying their cars were handling different after this race was over, so I don't know what the deal was. I'd never had a four-wheel skid issue, and I don't know if it was just the dirty air, but it lost us some time. We were hot on Too Quick for You's tail, and now we are not. But that's alright. It's still very early in this race. I mean, 4 laps around the Nürburgring is a pretty good run. But we try to close the gap a little bit. Got a good exit out of that turn going into the Foxhole. I do know that section of the track. Very fast, very fun part of the track. But back to the Viper. It's often overlooked, I think. A lot of the people who want to drive for an American manufacturer, they always go for Chevy or Ford, but they never go for Dodge. And I think it's because everybody thinks the Dodge Viper is too hot to handle, and I thought the same thing too. It's a car I've always known to be the kind of car that's actively trying to kill you. But the GT3R and the GT4 car version of the Viper, very stable, very nice to drive. I was very pleased with it. And in my single player experience, I found it gets rather superb fuel mileage compared to some of the other cars, as we have a bit of a moment there. But we gather it up and get back at it. Too Quick for You, starting to get a little further away from us now, unfortunately. But yeah, you would not expect it, but this big old V10 gets good fuel mileage, and it's because it's got so much torque down low that you could short shift it and not really lose any speed but save a lot of fuel. The only GT3 car that seems to match it in fuel economy is the Mazda RX Vision, which makes sense. Rotary engine's pretty efficient, just doesn't produce that low end torque the Viper does. Either way, if you're looking for a good fuel mileage car for long races, this Viper and that RX Vision are not bad choices. At least in my experience. I don't know if that's changed since the last time I drove the RX Vision. And we mess it up there, big time. We go off the track. This is a big section, long acceleration. We lose a lot of time there. DNF takes the opportunity to get by us. Um, Fourth place, not terribly far behind us, but that's all right. We'll try to catch back up to DNF here, and for the most part, I like to try to work with driver, especially if I'm in like the top 5 or top 3, or if I'm in second place following first. I like to try to work with the other drivers to pull away from the rest of the pack. And so far, it seems like the three of us, me, DNF, and Too Quick for You, we haven't really been attacking and defending each other from overtakes. We've been kind of just following each other till one of us makes a mistake, and I made a mistake, and DNF goes around me. DNF had not really been challenging me, and I assume that's because he didn't feel like I was holding him up too much, so that's a good thing, I suppose. Fourth place driver, still holding on back there as we leave the carousel. This is a very good section for the Viper as long as you don't take too much curb, and that's a problem I have, is I keep taking too much curb, and you'll find that later in the race that kind of hinders my performance. But if you can get it right, the Viper will reward you. A little too much curb, but luckily the car didn't get too unstable there. And it definitely seems like in the clean air it doesn't do that four-wheel skid stuff as much, which allows me to get comfortable here. Now fourth place is breathing down my neck, but they mess up. I don't know what happened, but they messed up and they dropped back, which gives us, well, we're not as under pressure as we were before. Car gets light through that section. It's always a little tricky, and it gets light up here. Starts to do a little bit of a wheelie here, and it's a little scary because you start going towards that wall when it does that. I keep forgetting to set the car up for that little section because she gets light up front. She definitely could use a little more front end downforce, I suppose, but still. Go through the little mini carousel here, grab a little too much curb, really don't need to touch the curb on that corner, but you'll see that I just keep doing that because I'm stupid. And then this section, it's really important to get this right. I never get it. I think that was probably the best I got it, but I tend to take it too tight. I feel like it's better to hit a later apex on that corner to set yourself up for this long straight. Straight line speed, not actually the Viper's strong suit, particularly at high speed when you hit 6th gear. Just there's cars that can outrun it on this straight, outside of the draft at least. But kind of doesn't look like we're going to catch up here. We've got a long gap to close to DNF, but we'll see what happens. All it takes is a little slip up, a little fighting between the two of them, and that's lap 1 completed. Going on to lap 2. We are where we started, and that's all I could really ask for. Definitely don't want to move backwards. 3rd place is a good place to be. It's a great place to start. Little sideways. Got to be a little careful on the throttle in 2nd gear, but we gather it up, and it doesn't seem like we'd lose that much time because of that. Get a nice, didn't really hit our apex, but got a decent exit still regardless. Bit of a moment there. I think Too Quick for You just clipped that wall there and got loose and got a little crazy there, and DNF had to check up to stay out of them, and Probably shouldn't have been so aggressive, but I seen the opportunity and I took it. And now we're back with the top two drivers up here, and we took second place. Again, kind of doing that four-wheel skid stuff. I definitely feel like it's a dirty air thing. It's just the front wheels just don't want to stick. It just washes out a little bit, and it always does it right before a nice long straight. And we kind of lose the draft on too quick for you for the straight because of it. It's rather unfortunate. I just don't remember. I was running this car on Daily Race B prior to this, before the update leading up to this Manufacturers Cup round, and I don't remember this thing doing that all too much. Um, not even in the dirty air, so I'm not sure. I'm guessing it does have something to do with the update. Again, everybody was talking about it after this race, how their cars were handling different. But back into the foxhole. So I'm on PS4, and I don't know what everyone else is on, but I remember, at least prior to this last update, things don't always go so well when PS4 and PS5 players meet. It's like one of the two lag spikes, and sometimes, well, if you're close to somebody who lag spikes, it can end your race pretty quickly. And I always was thinking about that. I wasn't sure if that had been fixed. So kind of made me nervous getting close to people, and you'll see occasionally Too Quick For You here will kind of lag spike here, and I think there's a good example of it on this lap here a little bit later. I believe after we get through the carousel. Keep an eye on Too Quick For You. It could just be their connection. I remember their connection was fluctuating between 2 and 3 bars, and while that 2 bars isn't really the worst connection ever, but when it fluctuates like that, it makes the server has a problem predicting where the car is when your connection drops and then increases and goes back and forth like that. It's better to have a bad, steady connection than to have one that's kind of all over the place all the time. And it seems like his would sometimes fluctuate, and it would cause that little bit of a lag spike. And I'm hoping that's the reason, and it's not because he's on PS5 and I'm on PS4. I'm hoping they fix that. But thankfully, it didn't affect me. So, but it made me nervous, especially after I watched him lag spike. It's like, oh boy, you know, do I really want to get close to him? It's unfortunate that you have to think about that, but that is the nature of racing online, I suppose. But this big uphill section, man, that GTR is fast. And of course, it doesn't help that I always don't really get the best exit off the last corner before these straights, but definitely it just seems like that GTR pulls away pretty good. It has no problem. Coming up on the carousel now. See if we can close the gap. DNF hot on our heels, but not really going for the overtake yet. Again, I like this. We're all kind of working together, and as you can see, fourth place is a little further away than they were before. We're because we're not getting in each other's way, we're pulling away from the rest of the field, and that's what I like to see. It allows us to fight each other later and make mistakes and slow each other down without sacrificing too many positions. So I always try to work with the drivers I'm with up front here, and I try not to get in their way, and I try not to ruin the race for them. That's the biggest thing, is I always try to get a clean race first and foremost. And oftentimes some of these races can be a war of attrition, or just staying. Oh, there's the lag spike that I was talking about. I think it happens again, but I think that was a connection lag spike, because from what I've seen, when it's because there's two different consoles, the driver that like lag spikes goes directly backwards into you. So, but nice little jump there with me and the GTR up ahead, throwing some sparks. Get a little wheelie action there too. It doesn't seem like that GTR has that issue. But then again, I'm not setting myself up for that corner so well. Coming up on the longest straight. Too much curb again. That doesn't, at best it doesn't hinder you, but usually it upsets the balance of the car when it's just a weird angle, that mini carousel and that curbing there. And of course I grab a little bit of grass, too early of an apex. It just doesn't give us a very good exit off that corner. We're just outside of the draft, or at least we're in it enough to keep up, but not really gaining any ground on Too Quick For You. And DNF seems to be in the same boat. I remember looking behind me, and he was close, but wasn't really gaining any ground. And I think he was closer to me than I was to Too Quick For You. So I don't know. Maybe he was letting up out of it, or I feel like he could have bump drafted me, but I think if he could, he would have. I don't know. Get a little squirrely coming up to the start-finish line, but managed to stay with Too Quick For You for the most part. Despite that, got the fastest lap. Didn't even notice that till the end of the race, and we overdrive it into the corner just a little bit too much. So we go to Too Quick For You's outside, which saves us from running into him, and somehow managed to hold on to second despite that little mess up. DNF, I'm not sure why DNF didn't go for the pass. Maybe they just kind of messed up the corner too. I don't know. But four-wheel skid again. Because DNF isn't really taking advantage of all my mistakes here, I'm wondering if they are having trouble with that four-wheel skid action. But they go for an overtake here, and I go wide to let them by because I don't want to hold them up. I even let up a little bit coming off the corner to get behind them. They got the run. We still got lap 3 and lap 4 to go through. A very long time to get that position back. Track's starting to get dark, and unfortunately, in replays, I guess I can't show you the weather map. So you're just going to have to trust me when I say there's a bit of a system coming. And fortunately, it seems like a small one. So at this point, I'm hoping it doesn't really make the track too wet and we don't have to pit for wets or anything like that. Leaving the GP circuit now. We're hot on DNF's heels, and it seems like we're closing the gap on Too Quick For You. I get a tight exit off the corner. Little loose, but still managed to hold on to a decent interval to second place, although they are pulling away now. I love this little section of the track. I mean, I love all parts of the Nürburgring. It's just so fun. It's a track that's entertaining all the way through the lap, and Too Quick For You getting real sideways there, but managed just to hold on to first place for now. Bit of sparks. Too Quick For You on the grass a little bit. Now they're side by side. Now they're going to slow each other down a little bit. DNF making the overtake. A little bit of sideways action there again. Just every time we get close, it seems like we mess up a little bit. It just doesn't feel like you can push the car as hard in the dirty air. Well, I mean, that makes sense, but again, it just doesn't seem like that was an issue before. The rain starting to fall now, so keep an eye on that little meter to the left there, bottom left hand screen next to the timer. so far the track's getting damp, but not enough to really necessitate intermediates or wets yet. But the track's getting a little slicker, and with nightfall coming, it's getting a little harder. You don't realize how much darkness affects your driving until, well, you're in it. I mean, I turn a lot of laps around the Nürburgring in my free time, and I feel pretty confident when I go through this track. But unfortunately, at night, you start to realize how much you rely on how far ahead you can see. Being able to look very far ahead gives you the preparation to anticipate the next turns and how you want to go through the current one. And you just really got to memorize this track if you're going to be driving it at night. And unfortunately, I'm just not that good at this track to be good at night. I start to make some mistakes, plus the track being a little damp probably doesn't help either. Even though intermediates or wets are not worth going for at the moment, I'm sure we're working with a little bit less grip than we normally would have. But we are hot on Too Quick for You's heels here. I think they're slowing up a little bit because of the damp conditions, and I'm still pushing maybe a little too hard. I wish the replay showed the intervals. I didn't know it didn't do that either. So I guess I'll have to start recording the race as I do them instead of relying on the replays, because I didn't realize some of the key features are missing, like the radar and the weather radar, and of course the intervals, which I feel like is a very fundamental part of racing, is seeing how far back and how far ahead other drivers are. But I assure you, the three of us up here have pulled away from the field quite a bit. And as you can see, looks like the rain stopped already. It is a very small system, and I checked other people's streams, and it seems like the weather is a little bit randomized. There's always going to be rain, but how much rain you get is random. And I got really lucky and got a race that only had a little bit of rain, which I'm real thankful for. Makes things a little bit easier when you don't have to think about what tires to grab and maybe the challenges that come with just wet conditions in general, as even with wet tires things are going to be a little slick. Too Quick for You is pulled away quite nicely from us, unfortunately, and we didn't quite get the exit we probably needed for this long straight, so we're just going to fall back a little bit, unfortunately. Way too late on the brakes. And that will cost us more time, a lot more time in fact. Just way too late on the brakes, and just one of those things where you just kinda, you're so fixated on trying to catch the guy in front of you, you tend to forget your braking points. And it's just unfortunate that that happens sometimes. But we'll try to gain that back. It's still, we're on the final lap, but it's still a long way to go. Plenty of time to catch back up, especially if the people ahead make some mistakes. Hard on the brakes here. We come into this corner, try to keep it tidy, and down in the foxhole, look at that. Somebody wiped out. Looking at the replay again, I watched Too Quick for You, and they just went into the grass and couldn't keep it straight as they tried to get back on the track and spun out. Their unfortunate mistake is our gain. and that gives us a huge gap too, because they were still trying to right their car as we went by. And well, now we're in second. Ran a little too wide there. That's going into a YouTube compilation. Coming out to the longest straight. As you can see, first place, very far away from us. I can't even see them in this little preview window I got. I don't know if any of you can, but I think they're long. Yeah, I can see them on the top right corner. They're on the same straight still, but there's no hope in catching them. Between the mistakes I made and the mistakes Too Quick For You made, DNF was able to just pull away. More consistent laps means an increased gap. That's all I can say about that. DNF ran a very good race and will go on and get the win. And we will get second place. Too Quick For You, despite their rather big blunder, they get third, which is pretty good, all things considered. That's a podium for all of us. We all started on the podium, so I'd say that's a great race for all of us right there. And a very good start for me, a good start for Dodge, I suppose. And I don't know what's going on next week for the Manufacturers Cup, but I'm sure I'll see you guys there.